St. Lucia, it is open mic, and although it is a little over a year since I'm doing my shows, I have to say emphatically that I'm really quite excited today to have Sir James with me, because I myself am learning things that I didn't even know about. And when I talk of learning things, I'm learning facts, and that's the important part. So I don't want to dwell too much more, but there's a slight comparison which I want to make based on what Sir James told me, and that is the same situation has happened in St. Lucia, where Alan Chasney was taken to the courts for some 30,000 EC dollars, which the government indicated that he spent, should I say, without going through the due process. We all know that the case was a quite expensive case for both parties. I would say between the two parties, one is looking at easily 160 and 180,000 US dollars, and Alan Chasney, the case was won, and the cost placed against the government of St. Lucia. And as though that was not enough, the government appealed, and some 3 weeks ago, the case was heard again, and we are awaiting the results of it. So, Sir James, based on what you told me and what I'm saying today, is it a pattern I'm seeing before us?
Well, there certainly is a pattern where the government uses taxpayers' money to hound the opposition. I repeat, yes. They're using taxpayers' money, yes, because they're not using the lawyers in government. Mm-hmm. They go outside, and I can bet you the amount being paid to the lawyers, if you say the amount in dispute is 30,000, no lawyer in the Caribbean taking a job for government for $30,000.
Right. Well, anyway, Sir James.
But the other dangerous thing is this, our laws, which need some revision, mm-hmm, is that eventually when the award of costs, there's a rule that says what the court determines as fair is not automatically what you spend, and on your bills.
Got you.
The government will pay their lawyers all the way. Yeah. But when you try to recover yours, they then question whether your lawyers' fees were reasonable.
Okay. Right. So that having been said, I think St. Lucia should be well educated today as to where we are politically when governments are in and out of office. There's a pet subject, both of mine and Sir James, which we want to touch on, and that is Liat. Very recently, Liat made an acquisition of some 6 ATRs to the tune of some 156 million US dollars. They had the Dash 8s before that, which I thought were quite good, and they decided to go that route. But I will just mention very briefly, I was concerned when they were making such a large investment, and I approached the Brazilian ambassador here in St. Lucia and told him that we want better relationships with the Brazil government. Would he be kind enough to revisit for me and for us the possibility of Brazil getting involved? And he was fantastic. He put forward a proposal to me, which I thought looked good. I passed it on to the powers that be under the Kenny Anthony administration. And as a result of that, many permanent secretaries in the Ports Authority from the islands came and they had the meeting, and they presented the program by the Brazilians, which entailed they would provide some 3 jets that would start off in Guyana through the main islands. I think it was Guyana, Barbados, Antigua, Fort Lauderdale, daily, and they could bring in 1 or 2 smaller planes like a hub. But that came to naught, and I heard nothing more, and 5 or 6 months later, these ATRs were bought, and as a matter of fact, although St. Vincent puts in a lot of money into Liat, what is happening there now? There are many times the ATR cannot go into St. Vincent and Dominica because it cannot handle the wind factor in those places. So, we now disadvantage, and poor St. Vincent is having to put a lot of money into that. And in all fairness, Dr. Anthony has said very clearly, he's not putting any money into Liat because unless it is reformed and reformed properly into a successful venture. Can I have your views on that?
Well, certainly, I would congratulate Dr. Anthony on that point.
Right.
I certainly don't go along with what has been happening with Liat. When I was in government, I was appointed by the Caribbean governments to deal with the restructuring of Liat and to deal with the privatization of Liat. I am of the view, as from my experience in business, that government has no right whatsoever in the transportation business. You should get out of it.
Correct.
And the other thing that is ridiculous, whenever government wants to launch off in these grandiose ideas, they go to the CDB. And the CDB doesn't care about Liat and the money, you know. All CDB cares about is the government guarantee. So they're not looking at a project to see what is viable.
Right.
I wrote off $19 million in the past with CDB when we were trying to privatize Liat. Because nobody would take on Liat unless we had worked out all the debts. St. Lucia paid off a lot of debts too. And the figures are there. We should get some research done to know how much was the debts were forgiven of Liat around the period 1998, 1999. You know? We had studies done with the Bank Paribas on the reorganization of Liat, but the whole thing was scotched by the Antigua government and manning of the Trinidad government. I was there, I can call the names. I was at the meetings when they threw out the whole idea, when British Airways was willing to come in as a partner to Liat and reorganize.
Okay.
That went out of the window, and then we went with British Airways to try and set up the other airline. But that too was scotched by Guyana, Trinidad, and Antigua.
So James,
no.
Yeah,
the thing is this, whenever you want money for these causes, like the CCJ, we are, whether you like it or not, CDB is the one putting up the money for the CCJ.
Okay.
So whether you like it or not, and you don't keep all of your payments to CDB current, you can't get money from CDB for a school or a road or a hospital.
That's the danger.
So this is the danger. So the Liat, no commercial bank has gone in there to lend. So it's ridiculous. Now, you come to St. Lucia.
Yeah.
I want the public. We are suffering with this Liat structure and governmental taxation. Now I have in front of me here the cost of my fare to come on this trip to St. Lucia is $190 US. That's the base fare. Then hear it: St. Lucia, PFC, SVD, SLU, $5 US. FIS, $6.25 US. SVD airport charge, $19. Security charge, $1.25 US. SLU facilitation charge, 0.37 cents. What's the facilitation charge now? Service fee, $10. St. Vincent service tax, $4.75. Then come on to the other side in St. Lucia, FIS, $6.25 US. Security service charge, $1.25. Service fee, $10. St. Vincent ticket tax, $4.75. St. Lucia airport service charge, $25.19. St. Lucia security charge, $4.82. Total fare price, $288.88 US. And the base price is $190. So the taxes are just a little bit more than the fare itself.
Yeah,
now, how are we going to have regional tourism?
That's right.
With that? We need to get rid of all of those taxations, and the government has its mechanisms for that. That is where you should be getting your revenues, and let people spend money and let people move in the islands. Regional tourism, long ago, you would see lots of youth groups in July, August, church groups, sports groups, traveling. All that's finished now because of the high cost of fare.
Right.
This is a big issue in the Caribbean that needs to be corrected. And some of these taxes in the islands, like a friend of mine recently came up to Huanora to collect his family who came from Dallas, Texas, for a family funeral in St. Vincent. He has a speedboat. Huh? He just goes, he touches the wharf there, and his people move from Huanora to the wharf. And he has to pay some big tax.
To the St. Lucia government.
To St. Lucia,
Yeah.
to pick up. Mustique, a fast ferry. We keep talking about fast ferry service. We have a fast ferry down in St. Vincent. It came up here to pick up some people to go to Mustique. The fast ferry to pick up 28 people had to pay something like $3,000 to spend 1 minute on the wharf in St. Lucia. Come on. It is time. I used to run a surplus and recurrent account. My government never had a deficit. I am a surplus man, like a businessman. You don't borrow money to pay your civil servants.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah.
So a lot of things going on in these islands or the
But based on
principles
what
of
you have
government.
just said to me, what would be a quick solution now to the Liad problem? What would you do today?
If I took over,
Yes,
if my party took my advice
yes.
and took over the government of St. Vincent, St. Vincent's shares in Liat for sale,
Okay, got you.
period.
Right.
And then I'm going to argue with the CDP again about that.
Good. So James, we have just come to the third segment of our program, and this is Open Mic, and we'll be right back.